Today we're going to look at a new variant of DShift. I like to call this shit because there's no FD, and it's a play on words, so it's clever. Shut up. We're going to look at some replays, because I'm too scared to actually take this into ranked, because it's going to be really embarrassing after I lose with it. Let's take a look at a typical dragon match. I'm specifically choosing this one because in the one below it, I had a pretty good draw, and that doesn't always happen. You can't rely on a god draw to beat Ramp Dragon. You have to rely on an average draw, being able to reliably beat it. An important thing to note here is I'm keeping my entire hand, because I have a dimension shift, and I have spells to boost it. Since this is Ramp Dragon, there's no risk of getting swarmed early on the board. Here, Angelic's Night Face is the correct play, because it spell boosts my dimension shift, and it's not like I'm going to be sniping anything for the next few turns. As you can see, I have to pass turn 2, which kind of sucks, but at the same time, he doesn't have a Dragon Oracle, which is also good for me. As you can see here, I'm just going to ignore his Dragon Knight and keep boosting my hand. This also sets up for a Wind Blast next turn. Rahab is hard to deal with because he has 5 HP, and on the Eva next turn will be at 7 health. You can see here that my Wind Blast is at 4, which means that I would ideally have to play 3 more spells in order to get to kill Rahab. Fortunately, I have an Insight and some Fate's Hands here, which will let me get this to 7 or 8, which in turn will allow me to kill any Eva Rahab plans he might have. Here I'll just clear his Dragon Knight with the smaller Wind Blast in order to keep my health at a fairly high level. On-curve Sybil is pretty hurty, and this might go south really fast unless I can stabilize the board. His Rahab is getting scared, but fortunately we can DShift, or not DShift, we can Wind Blast it to death. Feels good, man. As you can see, we've drawn a second DShift, a Blade Mage, and an Enchanted Sword, making it for the entire combo on turn 5. Now we're going to start madly spell boosting our hand. Keep in mind that I'm not playing the 0-cost Fate's Hand, because it will lead to overdraw, and the next card I draw might be a spell boost, in which case it will help. He's playing some pretty passive Dragon Emissaries here, but he's potentially threatening lethal on this turn. I actually spent the entire turn thinking on this turn about what to do, and almost got my play interrupted by the red circle. As you can see here, he has 1 Evo point, which means if he has any kind of burst from hand, I will most likely be dead. He's holding 5 cards, which makes it fairly likely that he has some form of storm in his hand. Now, it is impossible for me to clear both of his minions, and still have a combo left to do, which is why the line of play here should involve a Conjure Golem and an Evo to hit his Rahab. Well, that means I need to get some sort of ping from Fate's Hand or Sorcery Cache so I can save my Enchanted Sword for the combo. This is actually a pretty high-risk play because it still means if he has some kind of burst in hand, I'm dead. But it's important here to play to my outs and hope that his burst isn't enough to kill me if he has any burst at all. I'm boosting the Blade Mage just in case I don't draw what I need, so I can maybe play both Blade Mages to keep myself alive. If you notice, I did overdraw there, but I don't care because my combo's in my hand, and if I don't play that, I'm dead anyways. Here's the Conjure Golem Evo play, and notice I'm not playing any Blade Mages, because they can't clear anything, and they're part of my combo. Basically, if he can kill me on this turn, then I lose. But I also provide enough damage to make it so that killing me on turn 7 is much harder for him than if I were slower DShift, where he would be able to kill me on a later turn and get away with it. Fortunately, he does not have enough storm damage to hit me, although with Windreader Zal, that could have been a very risky turn. Now it's just playing out the combo and bashing his face in. Yeah. Smork that boy. As you can see, this deck still has enough ammo to burst down opponents from 20 on turn 7. Old DShift is not as fast as this, and would likely have lost to this dragon. As you can see, my second DShift was boosted just enough to be able to chain it on turn 8. But that turns out to be not necessary because I had enough lethal on board. This DShift is also still a very good matchup with Control or other combo decks. As you can see, this Haven is going to lose pretty badly, and he's going to wish that Dario were still the main rune deck. As you can see, I shuffle all my cards because it's unlikely to be Storm, and none of those cards are good in this matchup. Here it's just a standard opening, boosting any spell boost in hand while trying to cycle through my deck. Here I choose not to play Leffy because it's likely that he has some sort of blackened scripture in hand. Levy can be an important resource used later, but blackened scripture can become a dead card if I don't leave him anything on the board. As you can see, I've drawn my Dimension Shift, which is a very good. There are two lines of play there. I could have Sorcery Cashed my Dimension Shift and Angelic Sniped his face. However, he could be holding Halo Dogma, and getting draw from the Sacred Plea is something I don't want him to be able to do. Therefore, Kaleidoscopic Glow in the Sacred Plea was a good play, and as you can see here, this Insight top deck is very nice because it allows me to fully use all my play points on this turn. He plays Iron Maiden on 4, leading me to believe that this is a very slow Haven deck that is likely teched against a lot of it's likely teched against aggro very heavily. This is good because it means that I have a lot more wiggle room for getting my combo off. Notice that I had played my Sorcery Cache on the lower cost D-Shift because I'm confident that I'll be able to boost out the second D-Shift as long as the first one can go off. Here he plays Gravekeeper Sonia, a very good card, and will screw us over if we don't deal with it. So we don't like his Sonia right here, because it can't be targeted by spells. And that basically means we have to kill it with our followers. In this case, I think we're going to use 2 Eva Levi's, because it's not worth it to blow an Enchanted Sword or a Blade Mage at that. You do run the risk of having him play another Sonia, but I don't think it's likely that he has 2 of them in his hand right now. Let's keep boosting the D-Shifts in our hand, and hopefully we can pull off a turn 8 win, because we will not be able to clear the Sonia in time for turn 7 D-Shift. Here the second levy will also give us another Crimson Sorcery, and we can use that to hit his face. You can see he plays a Tribunal of Good and Evil on an empty board, so he's likely not holding much in Smork potential, and if he did have a second Sonia, it was likely that he would have played it. As he knows that I'm approaching my D-Shift turn, and it doesn't matter what happens as long as he can get to turn 9. In the Heavenly Aegis matchup, Haven's goal is to get a Test of Strength in Aegiset, which will effectively win him the game, while D-Shift's goal is to make sure that that does not happen. As expected, he doesn't have a second Sonia, and that means that we can play our 2 D-Shifts to win. keep in mind that we need to play as many spells as we can on this turn in order to chain the second DShift. From here on out, it's a straightforward win, just chaining enough spells to beat his face in with our Enchanted Blade Mage. Sounds sexy. And there you have it. This DShift variant is still good against control due to the nature of DShift. Easy game, it's a control deck. Alright, now I'll show the deck list that was used in this video. Alright, here's the deck, and it only has 6 gold, everything else is negligible value. So it's also good if you don't have much resources and are looking for a fun deck to play. See ya.